Hello, welcome to HiFi Room. Today we are going to talk about the Eversolo DAC-Z10. Without going too deep into the technical specifications, which can be found in detail on the official Eversolo website, it's safe to say that Eversolo Z10 is packed with several high-end features that immediately catch the eye. We are talking about independent power supplies for each channel and for the system itself, high-quality AKM DAC chips in a fully balanced configuration, an internal OCXO clock, and the use of an FPGA to reconstruct the signal before it is referenced by the clock. Add to that the ability to accept an external clock reference and a discrete R2R ladder volume control. All of this makes the Z10 very hard to ignore and firmly places it in high-end territory. As mentioned earlier, this review will focus more on the Z10's sonic performance and music qualities, rather than on an exhaustive list of features and settings, which are plentiful and well documented on Eversolo's website and in the online manual. I leave the exploration of those options to potential owners. For this review, I wanted to explore the Z10 in every possible role. I use it as a DAC, connected between a digital source and my Copland preamplifier, as a preamplifier, connected directly to the McCormack power amplifier, as a DAC referenced to an external clock, and finally, testing its analog input fed by my Lean Basic turntable through the excellent tube phonostage built into the Copland. The first impression right out of the box is unmistakable. This is a serious piece of equipment. The weight and overall robustness immediately convey quality. Solid, heavy, and well built. It's also worth mentioning that the same Android app used to control other Eversolo products, such as the Eversolo H6, can also be used to control all Z10 functions. Adding the device to the app took just a few seconds and proved extremely useful, especially for switching between the internal clock and the external clock during listening sessions, without leaving the listening position. Another feature I personally value is the ability to turn off the display. While the display is excellent in terms of usability and aesthetics, during critical listening sessions I prefer it off, avoiding any potential electromagnetic interference, vibrations, or anything else that could theoretically affect the audio signal. Placebo or not, I consistently preferred critical listening with the display disabled. I began by listening to the Z10 in the same configuration I normally use with my benchmark DAC1, using exactly the same cables. This allowed me to clearly identify sonic differences against a familiar reference. The Eversolo A6 streamer was connected to the Z10 via Coaxial SPDIF, and the analog output of the Z10 fed the Copland preamplifier using straight-wire virtuoso interconnects. First impressions tend to stick, and the first impression here was of an open, lively sound with remarkably extended highs, clearly superior to what I'm used to hearing from the benchmark. Detail retrieval was noticeably improved, yet never detached from the musical flow. There was no artificial spotlighting of detail, no tricks here. Everything felt coherent, natural, and musical integrated, with a solid layered soundstage. Some of my reference tracks revealed clear improvements. One I'm used to here is We Don't Care by Eric Bibb and Habib Koité, the wrist shaker played by percussionist Mama Kone while performing on the calabash, it's a percussion African instrument, was reproduced with greater clarity and separation. Track after track confirmed superior transparency. Subtle elements on Fight for Your Mind, a track by Ben Harper, or the spatial movement of the electric guitar on Excuse Me Mister, also from Ben Harper, the same album, were reproduced with excellent imaging and soundstage stability. I also enjoyed revisiting Carmen Sousa's Santiago from the album Porto Inglês, an artist I had the privilege of recording live many years ago at Onda Jazz Bar in Lisbon. Across all tracks, the Z10 demonstrated an evident absence of distortion, allowing the musician's performance and emotion to come through unimpeded. It remained transparent, neutral, and free from unwanted coloration. Next, I switched to the USB input, and things got even better. Transparency increased further, and the soundstage gained depth and space. It felt as if the different musical layers had more air between them. It reminded me, to a lesser degree, of the first time I heard SACD compared to CD, a subtle but unmistakable improvement. Without overstating the analogy, the sound became slightly more analog-like, for lack of a better term. The differences aren't massive, but they are clearly audible, and will be even more so in higher resolution systems. From this point on, all further listening from the A6 streamer was done via USB, consistently confirming the qualities already described. Next, I tested the Z10 as a preamplifier, connecting it directly to the McCormack, replacing the couplant. I used the Deltec BlackSlink cable, a cable I know well and that pairs nicely with the McCormack in my system. Without the couplant in the signal path, the Z10's transparency and resolution became even more apparent. The electrical matching between the Z10 and the McCormack worked beautiful. The Z10 offers 10 dBs of gain, 2.5 volts RMS on the RCA plug's output, which is ideal given the McCormack 22 dBs gain and 1.2 volts input sensitivity. Unlike many preamps I've used, which tend to have too much gain for this amplifier, the Z10 allowed for precise volume control across the entire range. The R2R ladder volume control truly shined here. Bass extension and scale improved with more presence and authority, especially noticeable in vocals. I then tested the analog input, feeding the signal from the lean turntable through the Copland's phonostage and using the tape out into the Z10 RCA input via straight-wire virtuoso cables. Listening to various LPs, from Eagles to Diana Krall, confirmed that the sonic character of the Copland's phonostage was fully preserved. No noticeable loss of resolution or dynamics was introduced by the Z10's analog stage. Finally, I tested one of the most unusual features at this price point: external clock input. Here, I'd like to thank my longtime friend Delfin Yanes from Del Audio and the Portuguese manufacturer V-Acoustics from providing the V-Acoustics Master Clock M2X for this review. When I called this friend, I have, and I'm glad I have friends, right? And told him that I were going to use the V-Acoustics clock with the Z10, he told me that wasn't making any sense because the clock costs the double price of the Z10. Well, you know, this way you can test things, you can really test the ability of the Z10. And I think, yeah, well, why not? Why not? Once connected, well, game over. Everything improved. Silence between notes, clarity, bass depth and stability, dynamic range, and overall soundstage expansion. At that point, I stopped testing and simply started listening to music. Whether using Coaxial SPDIF inputs with the Sony CD player as a transport or the A6 streamer, the benefits of reclocking were always audible. However, I did feel that the improvements were more noticeable via USB than SPDIF. My assumption, and this is purely speculative, is related probably to how SPDIF carries clock information, while USB is asynchronous and relies entirely on the DAC's internal or external clock. I wasn't able to fully confirm this with the available documentation, so I'd love to hear your thoughts. I explore other features of the Z10, such as the different digital filters, but the differences weren't that noticeable. But I also be very interested in hearing your personal experience with those options. And well, I hope you enjoyed the video and found it useful. Thank you for watching, and see you next time.